Saturday. Christmas comes early.
Unbelievable! Welcome to this incredible scene.
Bills.
To the end zone!
Chargers.
It's a touchdown!
An exclusive NFL game.
That's fantastic!
Live in primetime.
Wow!
Only on Peacock.
With a Christmas gift to their fans. They're having some fun now.
Bills versus Chargers. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. Exclusively on Peacock.
Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-A Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Mavs Moneyball After Dark. This is Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe, the editors at Mavs Moneyball. It is just before 10 p.m. on Tuesday, November 29th. Thank you so much for joining us after the Dallas Mavericks just outlasted the Golden State Warriors 116-113 in one of the most, probably the wildest Dallas Mavericks game of the season. In my opinion. What do you think, Josh?
Might be the wildest game since Luka's been drafted here. I mean,
really?
That game was nuts, man. Just think about all the things that happened in this game. There were 800 travels called, one of which was Steph Curry, one of the greatest players of all time, with the ball down 2 with about 15 seconds left with a wide open lane to the rim to tie the game, deciding to stop at the 3-point line and travel, like blatantly travel.
It was a bad travel.
It's great. Like, it's like he got monstered right there in that moment in front of everyone.
It's so interesting because they called that specific move on Curry twice, on Luka once, and on Jordan Poole like 4 times. There were so many. I mean, you said 800 and you're not far off. And it makes there's a point of emphasis going on with travels right now that I don't entirely hate, but it makes me wonder how many of these really big time shots have these motherfuckers traveled on. That's where my head goes, because it was nuts. And I just
Dinwiddie gets ejected for an elbow that looked inadvertent, that we all were like, oh, that's totally just a flagrant one.
Well, what else happened today to Spencer? I just noticed this. We got a report from Mark Stein that Tony Brothers got a timeout for cursing at him, and then they throw Spencer Dinwiddie out on the same day. That actually had my hackles raised, because that was not a flagrant 2. That's a bad call.
No, it was totally. I mean, when flagrant 2 is when you're trying to hurt someone, and he was not. He was doing going over like everyone does, like Euro step, trying to go over the.
I mean, it was a flagrant on replay, because he caught he knocked the shit out of him.
Yeah, I think that's probably what got it. It was so clean, and it looked so bad in slow motion. But I mean, he wasn't trying to help. He wasn't trying to intend. It was hilarious. And then what else happened? Josh Green looked like Scottie Pippen. Tim Hardaway Jr. made all his threes, but then played some of the worst defense I've ever seen.
And then he also didn't make some of his threes. Tim was a crisp 5 of 11 from the floor, but every single one of his threes was wide open, and he nearly turned it over at a key point in the game. He had the second highest plus minus with the Mavericks. True full Timmy experience. One of the wilder displays of basketball.
I mean, what other Dorian had the ball with 10 seconds left, up 2, and he was 4 feet from the basket, and all he had to do was lay it up or dunk, and it's basically game over because you're up 4 with 5, with less than 10 seconds left. And he dribbled away from the basket, got fouled, missed a free throw. So the Mavericks are only up 3 with 6 seconds left. And then on the Warriors' possession, all 5 Mavericks defenders, even though they're up 3 on the final possession of the game, all 5 Mavericks defenders are inside the 3-point line. despite the fact that a 2-pointer,
like Luka's just standing out in the open, like truly abhorrent. Like Jason Kidd might be a terrible coach.
Klay Thompson,
I don't really care right now, but what is he doing?
I know people are going to get so mad at us for talking about this.
That was insane.
I know.
And Klay made that shot where it's like you're playing 5-on-4 and the guy still gets an open look. What are you doing?
It was crazy. But that's the stuff off the top of my head. But I mean, I said this after the game, when you're in a bad place as a team, I mean, me and you have watched a lot of NBA basketball. We've watched a lot of Mavericks basketball. We've watched this team have its 3, 4, 5-game losing streaks, even in the Dirk era. And I mean, what's almost the universal truth is the game to end the streak is never easy. Like it's always a bear. It's like pulling teeth, when you're struggling that game to just get out of the funk for whatever reason. It's like the last climb out of the hole. It's always really difficult. So you can't be too mad at some of the weird, bizarre and bad mistakes they made.
Really good. The Warriors had they went on a stretch in the fourth.
They flipped the switch.
But I'm thinking of the missed shots where they were up on Dallas and just had the ability to crush them and miss something like 8 straight great looks in a row. Tim Hardaway missed time to rebound, and what was it was like I need Benny Hill music played over it because I've never seen an NBA player miss time or rebound that bad where he looked like me playing pickup, because that actually happens to me quite regularly. I don't have any athleticism anymore, so I completely miss time where the ball's going, and I just miss it by like 4 feet. But it was a hilarious fourth quarter. Like I never sit on the edge of my couch. Like I never sit upright. I'm always like leaning back, taking notes, whatever. I was like leaning. That was a cringe game. Like it was a fun sports fan game.
Yeah, the Warriors missed 9 3-pointers in the fourth quarter alone. For the game, they were 11 of 43. Steph missed 9 3-pointers by himself. How many games did Steph miss 9 3-pointers? Wiggins, who I think is shooting over 40% from 3, he was 1 of 6, and all of his looks were wide open. It was crazy. Klay, Klay's kind of been struggling, but he missed all his looks. The thing, we can get into the details about like how the fourth quarter ended and some other plays, but I finally got the data. I need to add it to my recap. It was my last bullet point on the recap, and it was the reason the Mavericks won this game is they whipped the Warriors starters' ass like crazy, like something that probably hasn't been done to them most of the season. I mean, if you've taken a stroll down, other NBA media, you've probably come across a podcast or an article talking about how outrageous the Warriors starters have been. In 200, I got it up, in 258 minutes, and this is after this game, the Warriors starting lineup, Curry, Thompson, Green, Wiggins, Looney, is a plus 122. Plus 122 in under 300 minutes in 18 games played. That is outrageous. That is an outrageous number. And Kirk tonight, in 11 minutes played, that same lineup was a minus 19. A minus 19. It shot 7 of 18 from the floor. That lineup missed all 7 of its 3-pointers. And the Mavericks waxed it. Like Luka was just, it's Looney and Green, and that duo terrorized them in the Western Conference Finals because they just would gang up on them on the offensive rebounds. That lineup had 1 offensive rebound, and then Luka did what he does against 2 big lineups when he's feeling it. He cooked them from 3. He spread them out. He got the Warriors scared of his step back, and then he dissected that lineup. And it helped that Tim made his threes for sure.
He was disgusting tonight.
Yes. That might be his best game ever.
There were
close.
I don't know if you want to get another post, but if you do, a look at the dumb Luka underhand passes that he made tonight. The one he made to Josh Green, he's driving from the top of the key in mid-drive. And so like Luka's got a pretty good wingspan, tall guy. He when he drives in the lane, he keeps a pretty low dribble. Makes sense. You don't want to give defenders the ability to slap the ball. He's going down the right side of the lane. And as he's dribbling, it's the most Steve Nash thing I've seen in a long time from him. Because Luka does a lot once he absorbs contact. But what he did here was basically as the ball was coming up from the dribble, he basically bowls the ball to Josh Green. I'm not describing it right, but I made a noise when I saw it because like I was behind and you guys were like, that might be the and he hits Josh Green from, I don't know, what do you think? Probably 20 feet away.
I think so.
20 feet away.
Did Green make it?
Corner. Green buries it.
Oh yeah, I think they were down when he made
that.
Right.
That's why it was such a big shot. I mean, we've not talked enough. Like we'll talk about Josh Green momentarily, but between that and like Luka was doing stuff where he was getting trapped like 5 to 6 feet out on drives. They'd send a second defender, and he did wraparound passes with one hand, beating the double team, like bounce passes. He did one to Dwight and one to Maxey. That just, holy shit. I mean, every time I'm like, this guy is like, all right, well, I've watched him play. It's still amazing, but I'm not going to see anything new. I see something either hasn't done in a long time or something I don't remember at all.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like I said, I mean, I know he's had maybe some better scoring lines, but that was seriously one of the, I think that's a top 3 Luka game.
I mean, 41, 12, and 12 with 4 steals
and a block.
You're right. Is preposterous.
Yeah, I think that's what sets it over the top, because I think you would agree that was his best defensive game of the season. I think
he did a good job trying.
Yeah,
we all get frustrated when he gives up on plays. That was not a give up. I was really impressed. Like Curry got by him a couple of times, but again, Steph Curry is a former MVP. Yeah. Like, what are you gonna, it's the effort, and there was a lot of effort from Luka tonight in 39 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking at his shot chart. He only got to the rim or the restricted area 3 times. He was 2 of 3. He was 5 of 11 though, in the paint non-restricted area, and I think that's what might have been.
Well, he could have had more. He had a lot roll in and out.
Yeah, but 5 of 11 is really good, especially
absolutely
because teams want you to shoot that little range shot, and he's gotten so good in that space on the floor. I mean, like, to give you an example, the Warriors as a team shot 4 shots total from that range, and Luka shot 11 on his own and made 5. So it was just some of the most remarkable shot making I've seen from him. None of his threes were easy. A lot of step backs.
Good too.
It looked good. Yeah, I mean, he looked like, this reminded me of those prime Dirk games where Dirk was just like, we're not losing tonight, guys.
Yep.
Like, this is, I don't care what happens. I don't care if my teammates miss shots. I don't care if they can't play. Like, we are not losing this game because I'm not going to allow it. And Luka has done that multiple times throughout his career. I don't know if we've seen, even though as great as he's been this year, this felt like maybe his first one. I mean, at least against like a really, really high quality team and like a slugfest. But yeah, this was it. This was Apex Luka tonight. It was
here's like a quiet thing. This is a little thing. So one of the things, I spend a lot of time on Twitter. Just part of what I do.
You do?
Yeah, I know, right? But one of the things that happens when you get a certain number of followers is like all of a sudden other teams' fans will like find you for various reasons. And for the past day and a half, I have been sent a ton of Warriors trash talk. And look, it's hard to watch a lot of NBA basketball. I watch the Mavericks. I'm not going to sit here and say that I caught the random Pelicans game. And I think a lot of people lie out of their asses too when they say they do this, because NBA games are 2.5 hours long. Are you spending every night of every day watching basketball? I'm sure some people do, but it's not near as many that act like it. So I was having all these Warrior fans tell me that, oh, Luka is the problem. That's been a big narrative for like 3 or 4 days now. Luka is the problem. And this was the most fuck you, he is not the problem game that I have seen in some time, because they were atrocious when he wasn't in the game. Even the damn, this was so frustrating about the NBA TV thing the other night where it was Isaiah Thomas and Sam Mitchell, former NBA coach, like he does not like Luka's game, just doesn't like it, where they were basically saying things that were flat out untrue about what, like they blamed Luka for Tim's shooting woes, saying Luka was feeding him hand grenades. It was wild. So tonight it was really refreshing to hear Candace Parker and and I want to say it was Harlan talking a little bit about the fact that like they're just a mess when Luka's not on the floor. They showed a statistic at one point in the third quarter that it was like when Luka was on the floor, the Mavs were plus 18. When he was off the floor, they were minus 18. That is crazy. Yeah. And so this was just like a really kind of rewarding. Luka is unbelievably good, dominant. He is part of the MVP discussion. I don't think he's MVP right now, but that's fine. It's the
team probably has to be a little bit better.
Yeah, we're 20 games into the season, and he's honestly gotten measuring sticks against Jason Tatum, who is unbelievable, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is also unbelievable. So we've seen that stuff. But this was just a nice reminder, getting the Mavericks back on track to a degree. All of the same problems still exist. They didn't fix a single thing.
They really did it.
It's like they, because when Spencer Dinwiddie goes out, they play Josh Green at point guard. Josh Green's point guard for 70 seconds. The Warriors went on a 7-2 run. Okay. And poor Josh Green gets,
it's not his fault.
It's not his fault at all. But it was just so funny because it's like, this is the problem. And it's so like we've seen, and I don't want to delve into this just this second, but like the fact that the Mavericks have signed Kemba Walker means that there's a mea culpa going on about the fact that they fucked up. And now I'm like, I'm going to lose my mind at the media market messaging that this was the plan all along. A very popular sports radio host actually said that if the Mavericks would have signed Kemba Walker over the summer, he would have considered it a good offseason. Kemba Walker might not be able to play basketball.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much he's got left in the
I hope he has a lot because I would love it. But it's just like knee injuries don't go away. So, but this game was just a poster child for why they went out and did that. Because he would have gone into the game immediately.
Right. He would have played those emergency minutes when Dinwiddie got ejected. Yeah, I don't know what Walker's got left in the tank. And to be honest, even if he has nothing left in the tank, he's the locker room, I think, desperately needed.
Oh yeah,
a respected veteran.
Love that interview with him where he's like, I always bring a lot to the locker room. And like, I hadn't honestly given that a lot of thought, but
no one's ever said a bad word about him. His Charlotte teams were always, I don't know. They weren't great teams, but they never necessarily broke down because of like bad chemistry or bad vibes.
That's right.
So that's going to help. And like having a guy the Mavericks haven't had this a lot since Luka's been drafted, like people in that locker room that can be like, hey, I have some skins on the wall and I can maybe tell you something and maybe you'll, listen to me. I'm not trying to say Luka's not going to listen, but it's nice if Boban's your buddy or Campazzo's your buddy, like that's cool. But like having a guy that's like, hey, I've made like a couple All-Star games. I've been a 20, I've put a franchise on my back before. I've been a 28 per game scorer. Yep. Like I've been in your shoes. I'm maybe not as good as you. I'm not as good. I wasn't as good as you, but like I've been through what you're going through.
Yep.
So
that's a great point.
That's going to help for sure. Because with Luka, Jesus, you saw when he missed that. Did you see when he missed that free throw and fouled Dante DiVincenzo, and they were in the bonus, and dude, he just like kind of held his jersey and just looked down and just screamed as loud as he could. And it was enough to where like the rim mics, I think, picked it up a little bit. And he looked like me when I get killed in Halo. Like it was he had a bad gamer moment in front of everyone. And that's okay. He's 23 or 24, but like it was just another reminder to me, like this dude isn't even old enough to get, the car rental insurance or whatever it is, 25. Like he is still developing, not emotion, maybe physically he's starting to get there, but like emotionally, mentally, like he's still like the human brain is not done. What is it? The human brain's not done growing till 25 or whatever. I don't know.
Well, I always make the joke to my wife that I was an absolute moron until I was 30.
Yeah. So like, even for all of his gifts, we could definitely use some of that. Someone that he can lean on in the locker room to vent or tell him what's up or be like, hey man, calm down. I've been here before. This is what you got to do. So I like, even if Kemba plays like 20 minutes this season, I hope he sticks around just for that reason alone.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
Well, then we have to pivot to what many people are saying, where we had probably, this was, in my opinion, I mean, he got roasted with a -9. It's not his fault, but Josh Green might have played the most meaningful minutes other than the playoff game against Utah, where he shot the ball really well.
Yep.
This has to be up there in your top 5 favorite Josh Green performances. 27 minutes. 5 of 7 from the floor, hit 3 huge threes. Just a real, also had one of the weirdest, funniest assists that I'll ever see, where it just it was like Dwayne Wade light, where he did a spinning, he attacked the basket, did a full 360 on a jump, and found someone in the far corner for a 3. I mean, I really, the Josh Green experience tonight was really nice. It was really nice. I was glad to watch it.
I think our mutual basketball friend online, Dave DeFore, I think after he had that, he was like, Josh Green just did a 360 no scope. And I was just kind of laughed. And I think Green, I don't know if you've seen the quote from Green coming out of that game. He's got some, what do you call it? Some self-realization, some self-awareness. He basically said, he was like, I knew if Bertans missed that shot, I was coming out of the game. He was like, I hope he makes it when I get the ball over there, because he said he knew if I pulled that off and he missed it, I was going to get pulled. So that's kind of funny. He's, if you listen to his interviews, he seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. So it's good to see. It's good to see him do this in this moment, because it's been a lot of kind of, the fan base has been warring over this, because he just kind of gets some minutes here, gets some minutes there. And, he has that really great game in Denver, 23 points in 30 minutes, but they lose. And then it's like, okay, we'll just keep playing him. And he kind of didn't really do much in the Boston and Toronto and Milwaukee games. But then you look at what Tim Hardaway Jr. and Reggie are doing, and you can't argue for those guys to play over him, because those guys have been such giant negatives. So it was good to see him get a big, get one of his big minute performances against a good team. I mean, I think this is the first time he might have closed a close game in the final 5 minutes against a good team.
I think particularly
he made all the plays.
It's got to be the biggest one I've seen.
Yeah.
And the thing about Green, go ahead. The thing about Green for me is always it's statistical contributions are like, what shows up in the box score is one thing, but where he's managed to channel a lot of his frenetic energy into plays that are helping his teammates that are not showing up in the box score. One of the things that I think has been a big thing that people like about him is simply how hard he plays. Yes. It's a nice contrast to Luka. And again, I love Luka, but Luka fucking walks all the time because he's conserving energy. Josh Green never walks. He's never slow. I found the NBA at NBA_AU has a Josh Green highlight reel tonight that's like a minute and a half long. And everything Josh Green is doing is fast. And the Mavericks don't have a fast element. All of their players are either smooth, measured, or forceful. Josh Green is fast. And like, that's a nice element. It's just, is it going to be something to where he earns a starter spot? I don't think so. Not under Jason Kidd. I just don't think he's going to earn a starting minute under Jason Kidd. Kidd is too stubborn. But
if he does this, that's fine.
Yeah, if you're playing 20 minutes a night and just zooming around and making nice passes and
closing when you deserve to close it.
Well, the defense has legitimately been good. That's one thing. I don't know if I've said that enough.
Yeah. Can I talk about that? So after that awful turnover that, Green on the inbounds when he went out, and it looked like, the Warriors went up like, I think 196. And it honestly felt like the game was like spiraling. Like it was like Dinwiddie got ejected. This game was spiraling out of control. The Mavericks had a 17-point lead. Now they're down. 4 points. I think it was was it late third quarter or early fourth quarter? I can't remember exactly when it was. And then the Warriors go up 196. I kind of, in my brain, I was like, oh, this could get like really ugly really fast. And on the Warriors' next offensive possession, it's still 196. Like Green played the most frenetic balls out defense I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, he was just rotating to the ball handler, whoever it was, and just going crazy with like, I don't know, jazz hands. Just like he was just freaking swiping at the ball, getting up in people's face. It felt like he had like 50 deflections on one possession. And then he poked the ball out and it's going out of bounds and he does a full dive out of bounds to try to save it. He doesn't, but he does it on the Mavericks side of the bench, and the bench gets fired up. The crowd like erupts. And like from that point on, I think the Mavericks scored 7 straight points after that. And it like you can't put that that's not a box score stat, but like if you watch the game, you clearly saw that the energy of the team and the way the team was feeling just changed within that possession. The team watching him hustle and play so hard, like that might have won them the game because the team was spiraling. Like the Warriors could have gone up 6 or 7 points in that possession.
The Warriors are a team that snatch your heart when you're thinking about what just happened. And one of the things that Josh Green brings to the table is, I don't know if that dude thinks about anything other than going real damn fast and just like doing his job. And it's so great when you watch that element of it. What I like about this is I think there's a strong argument, just being quite honest with everybody, that Tim Hardaway Jr. shooting, Dorian Finney-Smith shooting, and Reggie Bullock shooting come back to the mean of their careers, or at least the last several years. I'm not sure about Tim. Tim's a little bit of an outlier. But what Josh has shown is that even if that happens, he has a place in the rotation. And I wrote about this in my preview way back at the start of the season. He has to show Dallas something. And through a quarter of the season, he's shown a lot, and it's nice. Is he ever going to be the kind of player that you and I want him to be? Is he ever going to be Desmond Bane? No. But that's okay. He's something.
He's a player.
And compared to what their draft results have been over the last 15 years, shit, I'll take it.
You'll take it. And what you made a great point about if Bullock and Dorian and Tim, if they're 3-point shooting rebounds and Green's still having a place on this roster and in this rotation. I mean, he attacked 2 closeouts and scored in the paint tonight. Like those are just not plays that any of those 3 guys are doing this season. Like,
nope, you wrote about that.
Yeah, I wrote about that for our post today. Like he has more finishes at the basket than Bullock and Tim combined. He's only 10 away from Dorian. He probably caught up to him a little bit tonight, I think. He has more drives to the basket than Bullock and Hardaway, and he's only a couple away from Dorian. And when you consider Dorian's played double his minutes, he like, this is what we've been screaming about. People get like, the people that want to deny the problem are saying stuff like, well, not every team has like 5 playmakers. Why are you giving the Mavs so much grief about this? And it's like, I don't want 5 playmakers. I want 5 guys that can dribble. Can we start with that? Like, that's not we're not asking for the Mavericks to have 5 point guards, have 5 LeBron Jameses or 5 Chris Paul.
That's what I can tell so many of these fucking people haven't watched the Mavericks game.
I just want someone that can fucking attack a closeout and get into the paint. That's not a high level NBA move, guys. That's like
Maxi Kleber attacked a dribble from the right corner tonight with his left hand and was forced into taking a 15-foot fadeaway that barely grazed rim. That's not a bad, like, nobody honors that shit.
If you're a starter on an NBA playoff team, you should be able to, if a defender's closing out at you at the 3-point line, to be able to dribble past him and competently make a play. It doesn't have to be a jumper, or you could be a jumper. It can be a layup. It can be just passing it to the guy in the corner or moving the possession along. But good Lord, like I don't like people that think that's not a problem. Like, we just want guys that can dribble, and none of these guys can dribble, but it looks like Green can. And he looks like he has a lot of aggressiveness when he gets the ball rotated to him. And it's a sight for sore eyes. Like, you saw it. They had one of their better offensive, they scored 116 points despite the fact that their 3-ball wasn't really falling. They shot 34% from 3. Like, quietly, Dorian didn't make his shots. Dinwiddie was 0 for 4 before he left from 3. Like, Kleber didn't make a 3. He only took 1. He took 1 3 in 25 minutes. Bullock was still 0 for 3. He was terrible. Like, how do you get around when your three's not falling, when you got a bunch of guys that are standstill spot up guys? Well, that's when you see the struggles. Well, play a guy like Greenmore who can, if a guy closes out hard, shockingly, he can drive the baseline and make a layup. Like, not rocket science, guys. Like, NBA players are some of the most talented athletes on the planet. Like, hold them to a slightly higher standard. We're not asking much for a guy to take 3 dribbles when a defender is running by him. Like, Jesus Christ. So that was nice to see. Sorry, I got a little
fun.
mad there.
We needed one of these.
Yeah.
The problems.
The site needed one of these.
Oh, I mean, Jesus, yes. I mean, the problems still exist. I mean, let's just be clear here. These problems aren't going anywhere. But I don't really care right now. I just don't care. I am a little worried, and you're gonna laugh about what I'm about to say. I'm a little worried that all these early start times that we're getting them at the start of the year, and that I'm gonna die in like March, and I don't even know the other, because I'm just like, I'm looking at this. The Mavericks play the Pistons at 6 on Thursday.
It's amazing.
And then they play the Knicks at 11:30 in the morning.
They're gonna go on a West Coast road trip later in the season. You know they will.
And I'm gonna cry.
I know.
So, February 8th, 10th, and 11th, they play the Clippers, Sacramento.
Yeah, there's always a
9 o'clock starts, a back-to-back in Sacramento.
Yeah, man. It always happens. If you're in the Western Conference, you always got to take that California road trip. Before we go, should we talk about Christian Wood? We haven't talked about him.
He big stinky.
Big stinky is definitely the most accurate.
He needs to show up in a big game, because he looks weak in these important games. Sorry.
Yeah, that was rough.
2 of 12. That sucks.
Yeah, he did not look good, and none of his missed shots were like, I mean, it left his hand, and I was like, okay, that's a miss before it even started its descent.
Just a bit outside.
Yeah, it was nice that he grabbed 8 rebounds, but his defense wasn't great, and his offense was just another terrible dude. These offensive fouls he picks up, he's got I don't know, maybe that's a lost cause. Yeah, he's just bowling into dudes. I don't know what he expects. So I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, he had that really good game in the win against Denver, but this was frustrating. And Kidd gave him rope tonight, and I wonder, knowing with Kidd,
it's rope to use against him.
Yes,
because
he hung himself with his own.
Yeah, it's like him and Tim. There were a couple of defensive issues, and the Warriors are a monster.
Oh, dude, defensive issues. You want this stat? The Warriors were 26 of 33 at the rim tonight.
And they lost.
They got a layup line.
It's, there's these lineups where you have like Spencer, Tim. I don't think there was many of these tonight, but gosh, I was listening to Steve Jones on the really wonderful podcast that he and Nekias Duncan do, and Steve Jones is like, he doesn't call out Kidd, but he's like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to learn from a lineup of Davis Bertans, Dwight Powell, and Wood. And maybe it wasn't Dwight Powell, maybe it was Maxi Kleber. And then Kidd transitioned into Wood and McGee. Like, he was just like, what are we doing? And I thought about that a few times tonight, but it's like the Warriors are so monstrous to play where both Tim and Wood were like spinning at one point because they didn't know where to go. Yeah. And like, I don't know how you work through that. Like, defense to me, like, was the only thing I ever actually understood about how to play basketball, because I could go like, it was
that's what you did.
It's just simple in the sense of I only had a certain number of choices in a given play. And one of the things about Wood is like, Wood doesn't know what choice to make. So instead he just gets caught and then he gets scored on. It's wild.
Also, quietly, Maxey has put in a couple of bad defensive games. He did okay, I think, down the stretch. But again, they ask him to do a lot. But some of that 26 made shots in the restricted area. Some of that's on him for sure.
Yeah.
And I talked to some people about after that Milwaukee game, and they were like, man, if you watched Maxey, like just watched Maxey during that Milwaukee game, there was like something missing there. Like he was just not there defensively. So I don't know if it's coming back from that back injury. He really took a bad fall there. I'm sure it's still sore as hell. But we'll see. But that's another thing. Like Tim and Wood, we expect that. Like if they can maybe find ways around it because it's like an expectation.
Guys attack Maxey.
Yeah,
they used to not do that.
Yeah, they can't scheme around Maxey being a bad defender. Like he has to be a plus defender.
I hope he'll come into shape.
Yeah.
So before we leave, I want to read you two things.
Okay.
Luka Doncic is the 6th NBA player in history to have recorded 5 40-point triple-doubles, joining Oscar Robertson, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Wilt Chamberlain, and LeBron James. That's thing one.
Okay.
Second, Nick Wright tweets out, Luka Doncic is 23 years old. Dirk Nowitzki played 20 years. Actually played 21 years, but I get his point. All for the Mavs and is the NBA's 6th all-time leading scorer. Luka Doncic and Dirk Nowitzki now have the same number of career 40-point games. I don't know if that's true, but because that seems insane.
It. Dirk never got. I mean, as great as a scorer Dirk was, there were some nights he just didn't get the ball enough.
Well, I mean, he scored the same. Like he scored between like 19 and 25 for 12 years.
Yeah, I can believe it. Now, if Prime Dirk was in the NBA today, I think he would he probably would have had a couple more 40-point games. But man, that's a wild stat for sure. Wasn't there another stat that he did something great? Like he did something that no one else has done. Like, I mean, it's one of those weird qualifier ones, but like no one's ever had like 40, 12, and 12 and 4 steals or something like that. I can't remember.
When you get into those, it's always like number. Like I love those personally, but I know there's a lot of fans who hate them because it feels like arbitrary.
Like that Thad Young meme.
Yeah,
when he's next to Larry Bird and Michael Jordan is like only guys to average 19.6 points, 8.8 rebounds in a season. Like, so that's pretty funny. But yeah, good night. Great night.
Great night. That's right. I'm going to go record the live show. You go not right because you wrote the recap. Kirk and Josh Bow, thanks so much for hanging out. We will talk with you guys on Thursday.